Hello, my name is Jocelyn and welcome to All We Make Is Good. I have quite a few finished objects to share today, and not just knitting. So actually, I'm gonna dive right in with the first one that is not knitting related because I am so proud of it. I did a painting for the first time in years, and I am so proud of it. It's a marlin. And I really wanted to play with like light and dark, and I already have a painting set up right next to you here with the underpainting done, and I'm really hoping that I start doing more and more paintings again. So I had such a good time doing this. I had one song on repeat for the entire time I was painting this, and it was a great morning. It was a great morning, and I miss painting, and I'm so happy with this. He's already hanging up in this room where I can see him all the time. So, love that one. Knitting, I have 5 projects to share. I think I'll just go chronologically. So from my last episode, which was a while ago now, I had this sweater that I had just gotten a new ball of yarn for. So I was able to finish the body. You can see right where the new skein came in because it's so different from the last batch that was like 3 or 4 years ago. But I like this. I did a little like feather and fan kind of hem. I'm not showing this very well. Here, I did a little feather and fan kind of hem. It does roll quite a bit. Even after blocking, it doesn't really lay flat. So, oh well. I'm not bothered enough by it. But it's very cozy. I've already worn it once. I like how it looks. It ended up being a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. And I didn't end up needing nearly as much yarn as I thought I would to finish this. So I think I only used like 1.5 skeins or something. And I bought 3. So I have plenty left over. And this is Farm Fresh from Barnyard Knits. So is one of my favorite colorways. So now I just have extras to play with. So that's great. My next one was a new design, and this one is my wren sweater, and I am absolutely obsessed. I love this design so much. This is one of my favorite things that I've ever made for myself. There's a lovely little cable. I know I didn't block it very well, so like that purl row doesn't really get much much viewing time. So the cable around the neckline isn't as pronounced, but I do think it's still a very nice detail. Cables around the arms down to the arm join, cabled hem as well. I love this. Love this hem. And then of course the colorwork chart I designed myself on, I think it was Chartminder. And if you go to my project page on Ravelry, I have all of my notes from this project, including the colorwork chart that I used. And then I was gonna design something different for the sleeves, but I really liked the way that the variegated colorway and then the dark blue played with each other in this 1x1 kind of pattern. So I really, really like this. So this was Cinnamon by Manos del Uruguay. Sorry if I butchered that pronunciation. I believe this was, Undercurrent from Yarn Cafe. This was her, I think, 8515 base. And then the variegated colorway that I used for the rest of this is Arctic Tern Eggs by, I'm going to forget the name, but it is in my project page. Everything is linked there. And I got this from a local yarn store called Craftworks in Massachusetts. So Arctic Tern Eggs was a local dyer that was selling that colorway there. So the whole idea was I wanted the upper body to be a little bit more fitted. Not like fitted, but like just not oversized was just the idea. So I wanted the upper part to be not oversized. I wanted to work contiguous set-in sleeves, and I wanted the body to be oversized. So there was a lot of managing stitches, a lot of math to figure out to get this to look how I wanted, but I do think I did a really good job with it. The neckline is quite open, and while I know I did my math right, this kind of pulls in just a little bit. So I think maybe if I was going to do this again, I would make the neck slightly less open and add more stitches around the neckline than I think I need, which of course would make the bust circumference a little bit bigger in the front, but I don't think that that's a problem. This is also the first sweater that I've ever added bust darts to, and I have found out that after I did that, that is 100% necessary for the rest of my projects. I should definitely be doing that for all of my projects. I don't wear bras. I don't own bras, so I never really know my measurements, but I did take them eventually, and like I plugged them into that Find My Fit website or something, and the difference put me at like a double D cup or something. So that made me stop and be like, maybe I should consider doing bust darts. So I have started doing that. And it made the fit so much better. I knit this, and then I didn't like how much red I had under, how do I say it? So I knit this, and originally I only had like 8 rows of red, and then the color work started, and I tried it on, and I really didn't like where the color work sat, because it was like the color work started like right at nip level even after I did my bust darts. So I was like, I've done something wrong. So I cut the whole color work off and then knit a lot more red with extra bust dart rows, and then Kitchenered the color work back onto the body. And then it was just perfect. Then it was just wonderful. So I have all of my pictures of me wearing this and how it fits and everything on both my Instagram and Ravelry. Just amazing. I'm so in love with this sweater, and I can't wait to wear it more often. I'm primarily a sweater knitter. I don't really knit too many summer items. I want to change that. I want to start designing more summer items. I'm just struggling to figure out which fiber I think that I would like in the summer. I know linen is really nice, and I have made a linen dress before, but I hadn't worn it until this year because it's basket weave stitch, but it has the yarn overs in between all the basket weave. So it's very open and lacy, and I didn't have anything to wear underneath it. So it's just like one big parallelogram of lace across the bust. And I was like, that'd be a problem for a non-bra wearer. So I just wore it for the first time this year, and I had like a tank top and some bike shorts underneath it. and it worked really well, and I really loved wearing it. It was lovely, nice, flowy. So I do want to make more summer garments. I need to find the right fiber that I want to knit with and like dedicate for summer. Okay, my next project to share is my very first hand spun sweater is done. And this was, I wanted it to be like a very simple drop shoulder, oversized everything. I just wanted this to be the biggest, coziest, squishiest thing that I own. And it is. But it's hand spun. And I was learning as I went with this hand spun. This up here is a 3-ply with 3 different colors and 2 different bases. So I had 2 different colorways from Into the World on gray Corriedale base, and then it was Mirepoix and Season of the Witch were the 2 colorways that I had, and then I combined it with a merino top from Wild Violet Fibers called Ochre. And that's actually what the collar is made out of, is the rest of the ochre after I made the 3-ply here. So this was so much fun. So much fun. So I spun up all of the colored yarn first, and then I went and I spun up the yarn for the body here because I knew I wasn't going to have enough. I only had the 3 braids, and I knew that wasn't enough for me for an oversized sweater. And it was coming out to be like a worsted to Aran weight spin. So, so every skein that I spun up was a different weight, every single one of them. So there's plenty of like DK worsted in here. And then there's the ochre ended up being like a worsted Aran weight. When I chain plied what was left on the bobbin. So all of my braids were 4 ounces, but the merino spun up thicker and still had like 40 grams left over or something that didn't go into the 3-ply. So there was a significant amount more of the merino somehow. But anyways, so I chain plied the merino into its own yarn. That was my first time chain plying. And then I added like a couple of rows in the sleeve here before I joined. I thought that would be a nice transition and just a good way to use it up. So I did that. The construction of this was standard drop shoulder down to like around waist area. I wanted it to end like right just under, like on the last rib, kind of on the last rib. And then I started to work flat and made this triangle down the front. And that ended right around crotch area. And the whole idea was I want to have some shape or the illusion of some shape, even with an oversized sweater. So the idea was that the V in the front of the darker color would kind of like pull my shape in a little bit. And I took some pictures yesterday and posted those on my Instagram too and on my Ravelry page. Excuse me. And I think I nailed it. Not to like completely toot my own horn, but I'm pretty sure I nailed this. I love the way that it looks. So I knit that flat down to the crotch, and then whatever I had left over, I put into the sleeves. I knit these 2 at a time so that I ran out at the same spot. And then the ochre I did obviously on the collar. And then after I was done with the collar, I went around and I picked up along the edge of the V and around the back. I left those stitches live. So I went around the back and everything. And then I worked the rest of the body flat in this one, which is the Gotland Finsheep breed. I spun up a bunch of that. I've used up almost all of it now. I don't have too much left. Well, I guess that is a good amount left, but I started with like 1,300 grams. So, although a lot of that is sitting in bats that I haven't spun yet. So maybe used up isn't the right way to say that. But regardless, anyways, this, I ended up spinning, this was a chain ply as well, and this was significantly thicker than this. So if this was a DK, this was like Aaron to bulky. And I kept running out. So I always thought I had enough yarn, and then I ran out, and then I'd be like, oh my God, I have to spin up some more. So then I would spin up a whole nother like 200 grams, and then I'd run out of that, and I'd be like, oh my God, when am I ever going to have enough yarn? So I'd spin up another 200 grams, and then I ran out of that. This is over 800 grams of hand spun yarn. I can't believe how much yarn is in this. It's a big sweater, and it comes down like over my butt and everything. So like it makes sense, but I somehow wasn't expecting that mentally. I was like, oh yeah, 500-600 grams, that'll be good. That's like my standard. Nope. 800 plus grams. And you'll see that the hem is very scooped on the bottom. Happy little accident, because this was so much thicker. And then the second, you can see like where I joined the next one. This is like insanely thick, and then this is slightly thinner, and then this picks up the rest of that slightly thinner, and then like down here, this is actually fingering weight held double, because I managed to finally get my singles down to a really, really thin weight, and then chain plied those three together, and it was so fine. I had to hold it double to even come close to the rest of it. So much learning with the spinning on this project. So yes, the back is plain and simple, stripe right across the back. So I knit this flat back and forth, decreasing along these lines. I really like this detail. So instead of doing intarsia, I just knit flat and then picked up like it was a button band and knit it like that. Back and forth, garter hems on the sleeves and the body. Trying to think if there's anything else I actually had to say about this. I had a blast of a time doing it. It took forever with all of the spinning involved, and it is the coziest, squishiest thing I've ever made. So this is the first of many hand spun sweaters that are going to end up in my wardrobe. And I can't wait to wear this when the weather gets colder again. That's going to lead me into my tangent. I am going to be doing Tour de Fleece for the first time this year. I've only been spinning since like November 2025, and it's July 2026 now. So I haven't been spinning for too long. I have quite a few braids, and I have a very good amount of fiber at home that I can spin. So actually, let me grab something that I can show. Okay, so these are my main goal for Tour de Fleece. Oh my goodness, how do I roll this up into the cute little ball it was? Okay. There. So I have 3 of these, and I am once again doing a multicolored 3-ply because I love that. So these are, all 3 of these are from Port Fiber, which is based out of Maine. I got these at the Salem Witch and Fiber Festival this year. And these are all a 50% blend of baby camel and silk, which I have never even touched before until I saw these at her table. So I'm so excited for this. It does feel very slippery, so I'm hoping that I actually have the skill to spin this. As I've been spinning, I've been kind of experimenting with how I like to draft the fiber, and especially with this Gotland fin sheet blend that I used in that sweater, I find that I just kind of let it I guess I'm doing some sort of like assisted long draw is what I would call it. Cause like I have my right hand out to like sort of keep the spin not going too far into the drafting area, but it does a little bit. And I do like a long pull back and then let it spin up. And then maybe I should just take a video of me spinning. Maybe that would be the better way to explain this. But anyway, so I have these three. These are not the same weights, or not the same. So this is 4.7 ounces. I've got 4.1 ounces, and then I've got 4.2. So I expect I'm going to have leftovers of each of these, of course, after spinning the 3-ply. So I'll chain ply what's left into little bits and bobs like I did with, this was the rest of Mirepoix. This was the rest of Mirepoix on the Gray Corriedale. So this is a chain ply. This came out to a really nice DK weight, I would say. So I'm just saving this for something where I can throw in a little bit of extra pizzazz with some hand spun. So I plan on getting these 3 spun up for sure. Those are my definite. My plan is a similar kind of hand spun sweater where it's primarily that the color, the hand dyed, where it's primarily the hand dyed skein being the focus. And then I also have, I have 10 to 12 bags of alpaca fleece. I probably have like 12,000 grams of alpaca fleece. Really, it's actually too much. I got a really good deal on Facebook Marketplace for it, okay? So my goal is to spin these up, and then these will end up in a sweater in combination with 100% alpaca when I finally spin that up. And my goal for the alpaca is, because I felted the crap out of my first batch of alpaca fleece, I am not going to wash it before I spin it. I'm going to put it in some garment bags, just stuff a fistful of the fluff into a garment bag, shake it out outside to get most of the dust out, and card it and spin it. And then I will wash it afterwards. I do not want to felt this alpaca fleece again. And then I have some of these braids. And these I just got from Yarn Nouveau, who is... she was liquidating her stock here because she's moving and taking her business to, I think, a different state. So I got 6 of these, and I think they're like 2 ounces a piece. I'd have to look it up again because of course, silly me, I removed all the bands. So now I can't even remember like the fiber content. This might be Falkland, maybe. So I have 2 of each of these colorways. So this is the same colorway. I think these look so cool. I got a lovely wine kind of color. Beautiful. And then I got this lovely gold, green, brown, bronzy kind of, I never know how to describe this. This is like mustard with pizzazz. So I love this. So these are once again going to become 3 different color, 3-ply yarn. And then that will get paired with something else. Whatever else. Something else from my stash. Maybe the rest of the Scotland. I have no idea. And then as much of the alpaca that I can possibly get through. So I want to just like have this in a hand spun skein ready to go. But I don't have an actual idea for it yet. I'm sure I'll come up with an idea as I'm spinning. That usually happens. Sweater for the camel silk combined with the alpaca. I have to spin all of that up. I'm obviously not going to get through 12,000 grams of spinning in the Tour de Fleece. I don't want to get through all of that in the Tour de Fleece time range. I will just spin enough for hopefully 2 more sweaters. I think that's a good goal. So maybe 1,500 grams is roughly what I think I'm gonna get. We'll see. because if I make spinning my primary hobby during that time, I could probably do all 12,000 grams, so I'm not gonna lie. I have been known to, I could probably do 1 to 2 of these per day. And then by day 2, I would be plying it. And that would be half a sweater already. We'll see what happens. If you are not new to Tour de Fleece, or even if you are new, if you are joining a team, let me know. I just joined the Tour de Fleece group on Ravelry. I have not utilized the Ravelry groups to the fullest that I could be, by which I mean I haven't used them at all. So I am excited to join a group, to join a team for the Tour de Fleece this year. So if you would like to join a team or start a team of newbies or experienced spinners that you just want to hang out and spin for that time, let's do that. Okay. All right. I have 2 more projects left to share. One of them is very plain and simple. And it is my little garter stitch headscarf. Reminiscent of the Sophie scarf. I just did garter all the way up until I was halfway done with the remnants of this. This is yarn that I've had in my stash that isn't like the same weight as anything else that I have in my stash, so I wanted to find some way to use it up. It's been in my stash for years. I inherited it from another knitter. I made my sister some fingerless gloves out of this yarn a couple years ago. So actually, that's a good reminder. I have a pattern. This is my only I think it's my only pattern out is for fingerless gloves with like a little flap that covers the fingers. So just FYI for anyone who didn't know, that's my only pattern. But I finally figured out that I wanted to wear headscarves. So I love this. This is literally the cutest thing in the entire world to put this on, and like, I'm not gonna tie it, but this is what it looks like when it's on. And this isn't even blocked. This is just, I just threw it on. It's so cute. I changed my profile picture on Instagram and everything to me wearing this. I think this is the cutest thing in the planet. And I have been wearing it quite a lot. Since I've grown my hair out, I have a hard time wearing my hair up because it's very heavy and thick and it gives me headaches when I put it up. So I use a lot of claw clips, but I don't really use headbands anymore because headbands also give me headaches. But this, being like you tie it at the tightness that you want, this is so perfect. And I love the dangly long tassels down my back, honestly. They're just, this whole thing makes me feel so whimsical and I love it. So this started me on a rampage to make as many headscarves as I can, which means that I made exactly 1 more. And I finished blocking this yesterday and I went all out for this one. This is one of my favorite things that I've ever made in my entire life. So I added beads to this one. So I did a lot of shopping around on Pinterest for stitch patterns that I wanted to use. So this is like a really fun Celtic cable that I found. This colorway this is what's left of the Rhinefleck yarn that I had from Dancing Leaf Dye Works. I bought this at my very first trip to Rhinebeck in 2023. This is my favorite colorway that has ever existed. I have never found another color that makes me as happy as this one does. So to finally have a project like this to use it up in it's so satisfying, and I love it so much. And then this color is actually a one-of-a-kind colorway from Barnyard Knits. And I think I bought like 4 skeins of it when she released it, or I bought like everything that she had. So I've slowly been using it. I've used this before to make an iron golem. Actually, let me grab him. So I designed this. I did not write a pattern, but I mean, I could if there was interest. So this is all knit. The seams I kept on the outside to keep it boxy instead of rounded. So I really like the effect of that. The arms are attached by buttons so that they can move. I had intended on making him sweaters, and I just haven't yet. And all of the measurements, all of the measurements were done by having a picture of an iron golem up on my computer screen and going like this to figure out the proportions. And I'm pretty sure I nailed it. So the extra colorways were like just random mini skeins that I had that I wasn't going to use in anything else, on the bottoms of his feet too. So I love him so much. His name's Frederick. He is named after the iron golem that me and Corey added to our Minecraft world when we were playing. So back to this project. I was shopping on Pinterest for different stitch patterns, and this lace here actually had 4 little baubles in these sections, and instead I replaced those baubles with more beads. I had 3 different colors. There was like a peachy color, a slightly darker, like or how do I describe these actually? There's one that was called pink, but I think it's more purple. There's one that's definitely peachy and one that's slightly more yellow than peachy. And I just threw them all into a bowl and picked randomly to string them onto the yarn so that there was no planning involved. The only planning that I did was for these dangly bits. And I made each of these with beads that I had in stash and beads that I bought specifically for this. There's like 1 or 2 little beads throughout the rest of the project. And the whole idea was that the beads would kind of dangle in like a coronet around the back of the head. Is coronet the right word for that? Please correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, a little circlet of dangly beads in the back. I don't even know if I showed that correctly, but this is... Oh, I can even wear it like that, tied in front. Oh, I didn't even think of that. I always tie it in the back. I probably will mostly tie it in the back anyways, but this is probably the cutest and daintiest thing I have ever made. I love it so much. So this used up all the rest of this, and then I made the tassels. I did this little like bowling ball or bowling pin shape almost, kind of tapered out and back in. I don't know. I just wanted to use up as much of this as possible. I still have a whole nother skein of this in my stash, but at least I used up the little bit that was floating around. So I do love a long tie in the back. So I'm waiting for reasons to wear this because this feels so fancy and special. I haven't thought of a good place to wear it yet, but I'm so excited about this. I am considering making a pattern for this. If that's something that sounds interesting, let me know because I would love to do that. That is the last project that I have made. I did go to Michael's and I bought some felt and wire, and I wanted to make some posable creature stuffed animals. I have a couple of ideas. Let me actually go show you my idea. Okay. So again, more on like the eerie side of things. That's like where my comfort zone has always been, especially as a kid. Like most of my drawings were just like creepy little critters. So this feels better to me than like a normal owl. So maybe the light's kind of washing it out, but it's a 4-winged owl, 4-eyed. You can see all the feather details on top. That's just my little donut day doodle. I had a whole rant that I was going to do about this because the social media page for the New York Sheep and Wool Festival posted a picture for Donut Day, and it was AI generated, and I didn't like that. So I was like, you could have asked me to do it, and it would have taken me 30 seconds, and it would have been cuter. But anyways, I don't want to go back into that. So here's my first doodle, was an owl like this, and I wanted to try to figure out how to make this into a stuffed animal pattern. And then my next creepy little guy, I'm obsessed with this guy. I love him. I love him. I love him. Look at his little face. I love him so much. I'm a sucker for horns. I'm a sucker for hooves. I'm a sucker for cutie little skulls. So all these little black details I'm planning to have kind of like puffy. So he'll have like raised puffy ribs, sort of. And then like the outline around each arm is going to be like a little donut thing around each arm. I think that'll be really cute. I bought beads to stitch the eyes instead of doing felt eyes. I thought it would be really fun to stitch on it. And I do want to do some kind of like embroidered embellishments on these. So I'm probably going to embroider the felt before, or like I'll cut out my pattern pieces and then I'll embroider on them and then I'll stitch them all together. So these are going to be like a lot of manual labor and love to make these, is my hope. But I've always wanted to make stuffed animals. This makes me really, really excited. So I can't wait to get started on those. And then after I bought the felt and the wire and everything to make them posable, Corey and I were talking about, he is in a feud with a grackle, a bird, out where he lives. And we were talking about like, oh no, like what if you pecked your eye out? And then I was like, what if I made really sick eye patches though? Like, it's fine if you lose your eye and I can make eye patches. Just kidding. I don't want him to lose his eye. But it got me thinking, and now I want to use some of that felt and the wire to make like half masks, kind of, you know? So my idea is like, it would cover like half the nose. I almost wish I could like Sharpie it on my face just for a second so you could see what I'm talking about, but that would be devastating for the rest of my week. But I want it to come down like this and like kind of cover the nose, and because of the wire it would be like molded to the face so it would fit properly, come up, and then it would spiral like a little headpiece to hold it on completely. And it would be all felt and it would be all embroidered and it would be all beaded and it would be all everything. Oh, I love that idea so much. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be my niche. I'm going to start selling the sickest little eye patches. I was like, this is gonna take me into the next part of my life. This is how I'm gonna make my fortune and retire from corporate America. Anyways, my delusions ran away from me with that one, but I am really excited to try it. So there's that. I have been, this is not knitting or anything related, but I have been back into audiobooks. My brother and my sister finally convinced me to start listening to Brandon Sanderson books. You know what's funny is I had a note in my phone from like 6 years ago, and the only thing it said was Brandon Sanderson. I didn't give myself any more context. So like I knew I was going to really like his books. So they started me with the Mistborn trilogy, and I just finished that one. And I just started Elantris. The Mistborn trilogy is one of the best stories I've ever read. Like I'd have to give it at least a 9 out of 10. It's the first Mistborn book, like changed me. That's being dramatic, but like it's one of the stories that you can't fully appreciate until you've read that book to the very last word, and everything comes together. Everything is explained. It's perfectly set up for the next book. It's so well done. The setting and the content is a little bit dark, so it is on the eerie side, which is something that I like. But if you're kind of squeamish around, I don't know, there's dark imagery. It's very dark. So if that's not your thing, then this might not be for you. But if you're okay with that, It is an exceptional story. Exceptional. It's not written like horror, but if you take a step back, you could kind of feel like it would be almost a little bit of a horror. So just for anybody who doesn't like that, I figured I would say that. But it is one of the best series I've ever read. So I jumped right into Elantris, which they recommended next. They want me to read Elantris, and then they want me to read Warbreaker. And fortunately, my brother has an Audible account, so he's just letting me use that. So lucky for me, I get to just log into his account and listen to these books. I don't have to use up any of my Hoopla borrows. My only problem is once I get attached to a specific audiobook narrator, I don't want to listen to any books that aren't narrated by that person. So the first 3 Mistborn were narrated by Michael Kramer. Love his voice. Love the accents that he does. I love his cadence and everything, how he reads. I love it. I love listening to those. Elantris is not read by Michael Kramer. So I'm having trouble getting into it because it's not Michael Kramer. I had the same problem when I listened to the ACOTAR series. It's like the same narrator for the first 3 books, and then every book after that is a different narrator. And it drove me absolutely bonkers. I didn't like it. Same thing's happening with Fourth Wing. Fourth Wing is another series that I just got into, and the first book was okay. I wasn't a huge fan of the writing, but I wanted to give the story like a chance to develop, and it did. Fourth Wing became like very quickly a really, really good series. I loved the story. So by the second book, halfway through the second book, I was hooked on every single word I couldn't put it down. So, and then I got to the third, and the third was even better. It was just all amazing. But the narrator yell reads for any scene that has any level of heightened emotion, which is like all of them. So she's yell reading to you for a vast majority of the books, which is tough for me to get past. I love the books and I kept going with them, but it was hard to push past that to get into them. And you could just be like, oh, why don't you just pick up the physical book and read that? Then you don't have these problems. And like, yes, but if my hands are physically reading a book, then they're not knitting. So that's my problem. So that's why I really like audiobooks. And there is a part of me that wants to also become an audiobook narrator. I think that would be something that I'm really good at. I really enjoy doing different voices, and I have a microphone for it. I have a quiet room in the basement. I kind of like have everything that I need to get started with it. I'm just afraid of actually doing it. But maybe eventually I will. But that is something that I have been really heavily considering and I would really like to get into. So if you have a story that you would like me to read, if you have a book that you want me to read, a short story, a poem, send it to me and maybe I can practice and get some feedback from my community and see if I'm any good to actually give it a real try. Maybe that would be a fun thing to do. That is everything that I have to share today. I hope you enjoyed catching up. I definitely enjoyed showing off all of my new makes. I'm very proud with the way that my art has been going. I think I'm overall just improving skills in all categories, so it's really exciting. This is one of the few projects that I've ever made that I envisioned in my head and then executed exactly the way that I envisioned. So that I don't think that has ever happened, and I'm so proud of myself for that. So my knitting is getting me through everything right now. So thank you for allowing me to share this with you and talk to you guys. And I hope you have a good rest of your week, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.